Why did you choose to be a monk?
I saw two things. I'm going to give you an answer that I've never given before because also of the way you asked the question. So the two reasons I chose to become a monk. I saw two things in the monks that I didn't see in anyone else. So when I was 18, which was how old I was when I first met the monk that I speak about in the book, Think Like a Monk, I had met people who were rich, I'd met people who were famous, I'd met people who were beautiful, I'd met people who were powerful, but I don't think I'd met anyone who was happy or who was content or who was self-realized or had gained some level of being centered. And when I met the monks, I saw two things. One was emotional mastery. The people that I met had a sense of emotional clarity and mastery of their senses, their emotions, and their ability to convert their own envy into positive energy, to convert these darker feelings that we experience of insecurity and ego and competition into service and collaboration. I saw them be able to be magicians and wizards in how they took these very lower energies from within and were able to help them to rise and transform them into things that actually benefited the world. The world has never been benefited by someone's ego. The world has never been benefited by someone's insecurities. And the world has never benefited by someone taking out their trauma on other people. And forget the world, a relationship, an individual has never benefited from any of those things. And I saw that these people were working on that. They were working on figuring that out. And I thought, wow, like who else in the world is trying to figure out how to deal with these very real things that we all deal with, by the way? But they're trying to figure that out. That feels like a worthy pursuit. That feels like a really, really worthy pursuit. Because they're learning to deal with the things that make wealth meaningless, right? If you have lots of wealth, but you have lots of envy, you'll just be envious of the other person who has more wealth. If you have fame, but you are insecure, fame does not solve that insecurity, and actually it makes your fame worse. If you have beauty, but you don't have self-worth, you allow people to exploit that beauty and you allow people to exploit and take advantage of it and feel empty. So actually, all of our life, we can have fame, we can have money, we can have beauty, we can have all of these things, but if we solve that core, we can actually appreciate and use and actually enjoy these things in a much deeper way. And so I saw with the monks that they were focusing on what I believed was the core to human life, emotional mastery. And the second thing they had, which I really gravitated towards, was that they quoted Emerson, and Emerson said that we should plant trees under whose shade we do not plan to sit. And I love that because when we choose to extend ourselves, we've obviously talked about service today already, but it was that service connection, what I talked about earlier, that they were choosing to live a life beyond themselves and choosing to live a life for others and people that couldn't do anything back for them. And I thought that there was some beauty in that because despite my conflicted or challenged childhood, I still had a lot more than a lot more people, right? As in the sense of I didn't have a lot financially or we didn't have a big home or anything like that, but I still had a good education. I still had parents who were making me work hard. I felt a sense of responsibility and accountability to give back to people who didn't have that. And when I went to India and I saw, one experience I'll never forget is I was 9 years old and it was the first time I'd visited India. And as I told you earlier, my father's from India, southern India. My mother was born and raised in Yemen, but she's originally Indian. And so I'm there at 9 years old and we're in the back of a taxi and we're going back to our hotel. We're staying at a simple hotel in the city and I'm in the car and I'm looking out the window. I've never seen anything like India. Have you ever been to India? So I've never seen anything, right? I'm a boy from London. I've never seen anything like India. And I look out the window and we're driving past an area where there's a lot of young children on the streets. And they're all there, and some of them are half clothed, and you can see some of them probably haven't eaten for a while, or haven't drunk water, or they look like they've had a rough time. And as a 9-year-old, I'm seeing kids who are 9 years old having the same experience. Now, I've never seen this in London. And I see kids doing all sorts of things. I see some of them playing with a little ball. I see some of them running around. I see some of them just sitting there. And I see these legs that are poking out of a trash can. And I realize that this kid must be inside this trash can. And I can see that they must be trying to scrape something out of the trash can, maybe some food or something. And then when the child comes out, I realize they don't have any hands. Like they're just scraping with, they've lost their hands and they're just scraping with what they have left, trying to get some food. And it's like, I saw that and I wanted to do anything I possibly could. Like I just wanted to, get out of the car and just run across the other side. But I'm 9 years old and I have nothing to give them. And I don't know how money works. So I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm having this little experience where we're stuck at the traffic lights. And then the car moves and then, I can't do anything. And I feel like this is the worst experience I'm having right now because I don't know what to do. And then we get back to the hotel and I remember hearing that there was a couple of people complaining about the buffet. And I remember that just hitting me and just going, wow, like that kid didn't have, that kid was scraping the bottom of a trash can to find food. And, me as well, we can be so ungrateful sometimes in not recognizing that benefit which is upon us, even to have access to clean water and good food. And it was at that point where I was like, it was at 9 years old where I had that feeling, but that only came back when I saw the monk. I almost forgot about it, right? It was really interesting. I left India, forgot about it, didn't think about it. And then when I met the monk at 18 and started spending more time in India, we would actually go out to feed the homeless. So when I would go out, I would take part in this program that the monks run called midday meals. And so the monks that I was spending time with were feeding 1.2 million, now today are feeding 1.2 million kids a day in India. And that, even though that's such an amazing number, that's just scratching the surface. Like that's not even enough. And so I got to be a part of that when I was there and go out every day and feed the kids and just, see that experience. But it was amazing how you forget about that stuff. Between 9 and 18, I didn't think about it once.
You said it was 2 reasons, right?
Yeah. So the first reason was the emotional mastery. And the second reason was this service element, wanting to extend our life to others.